this beautiful morning. There's so many butterflies here in the garden that some of the areas you walk through, they just seem to all rise in front of you. They're all over the buddleia here. That one seems to have a broken wing, but it doesn't seem to be bothered by it. Still flying and collecting the nectar. It's a beautiful Monday morning. Jack and I have come down to collect the post. I'm just sat here on the bench, collecting my post. The bees are buzzing and there's a trickle of water behind me. That's just looking across into the next field, to my neighbour's land. It is a perfect Lughnasadh morning. This is the last week of Lughnasadh now, the last full week of Lughnasadh. That's the months of Lughnasadh. But the season of Lughnasadh continues. It continues all the way through September and October, right up to Samhain. So there's so much to enjoy. So this is Lughnasadh, a Lughnasadh morning, and it's coming towards the end of the first trimester of Lughnasadh, and autumn is really getting a hold now. The light has changed. In fact, everything about the light has changed, and you can see it now the way it's coming through the trees. It's coming in at a beautiful sort of lower angle. So there's more shadows. There's more light also hitting the earth. Do you know, I was listening to the radio this morning, and it's amazing how language has been turned around and taken away from us and used for things it should never be used for. Have you noticed how everything is now referred to as an industry? They talk about the tourism industry, the music industry, the farming industry. Now, maybe it's just me, But when I was growing up, I was taught at school and just through, conversations at home that industry was something, what was referred to as sort of manual. So it was, basic technology and making things, very much about making things. No, not creating, but actually making. So, you had the Industrial Revolution where people came away from the land and went into factories and they made things. And if you were an artist, you created things. And now all this language is getting so mixed up. I feel it's very much on purpose. It's a very purposeful way of changing society. It's funny the things you notice, living as I do on the edge of empire. I'm continually looking in at it and seeing what on earth is happening now. But certainly language has been so adulterated and changed and manipulated. I can't help but think about it. All the recent rain, over the past few months, has begun to expose the bedrock down here, which is very flat. You can see how smooth it is. And also, there's stones being washed out of the banks. There's quite a nice big round one there. Very round. It's probably been there since the Ice Age. I love looking up close at the way plants grow and how detailed the smallest of things can be. Like there's ivy here and ferns and moss, and it's all growing perfectly together. Jack doing his roly-polies. He's a happy boy. Some oak leaves, still green, have come off the tree. Now that's a sign that there's a squirrel actively up there. Just waiting to see the red squirrels again. They normally turn up at this time of year. This is another one of the little trees that I planted last winter, and it's a tiny little oak. You know, people ask me for advice on tree planting, and my basic advice is plant it small so it doesn't need to be staked, and feed it well. And you can see it's put down its roots, because look at the beautiful new growth. And there, look, there's about 3 or 4 inches of new growth, even though the tree is quite tiny. Now, usually at this time of the year, I pay for some labour to come in and help me to start taking down, coppicing some of the willow. There's a lot of the willow here. You can see that as that's taken down, I can plant what I call secondary growth trees. And the secondary growth trees are the ones that will grow for between 50 and 100 years. The willow itself is what I call a pioneer tree, and the pioneer trees go in there and sort of start the job off of creating woodland. So woodland is not as simple as it would appear to be. You know, a lot of people would think that you just go in there and plant the trees. Well, you can do that if you have good ground, if you have good land, good soil. But a lot of the land has been so degraded that it's impossible to do that. So you have to send in the pioneer trees. And then, of course, what you do is you can plant a secondary growth in between the pioneers, because the pioneers will drop a lot of leaf, drop a lot of wood, and begin to turn the earth into a fertile mass, as opposed to a degraded, poverty, restricted, impoverished earth. We haven't cared very well for the earth, have we? So I'll show you some of the little trees that I planted over the course of last winter, autumn, winter and early spring. You can see where I've just cleared a little patch here of the willow, just enough to let the light through, because the young trees need to have the light. And of course I planted them, I sort of didn't clear the ground, but I certainly raked some of the worst of the weeds back, and planted them in a pretty good wide space hole that I was able to put lots of compost into the bottom of. And you can see how well these little trees have done. So I've got a hazel and 2 birch, and they've taken very well, and taken so well that there's a fern coming up there, look. Now that fern may have already seeded in the little pot before I planted these trees, I don't know, but it certainly is looking as though the ground is turning into a beautiful healthy woodland, and that's the aim, of course, to restore the woodland. The bog oak is so incredibly wonderful for me to work with, because it's a continual reminder and a continual sort of energy force to work with, that reaffirms for me, the reason why I'm here doing this, why I'm here planting trees and restoring woodland. Because Ireland was once one incredibly lush forest. It was lush, it was bountiful, it was filled with abundance, shelter, everything that humankind needed to flourish, you know. And it's just wonderful to be able to, when I step outside the cottage, work within this woodland, you know, continuing to plant and continuing to nurture. Like these 3 little birch trees I put in last year. Again, clearing an area in which to plant them. But when I'm inside the cottage, there I am, either writing about it or on social media, talking about it, or sharing the photographs, the videos like this video. But of course, working with the bog oak is just amazing. So I'm very happy that I'm able to do these things, which I suppose for a lot of people, I don't know if a lot of people would see the joy in it. I think everyone who tunes into Bealtaine Cottage sees the joy in it for sure. But I very rarely leave the confines of Bealtaine Cottage because it's here where I'm happiest. I don't know if many people can say that about their homes. I think part of the 21st century human dilemma in Western civilization certainly has been to do with the wanting more factor. You know, I mean, when I was a child growing up, a fitted kitchen was unheard of, first of all. But to redesign your kitchen, to have 2 or 3 fitted kitchens put into one's home over the course of a lifetime seemed to be absurd. Like there was no sense to it. And one of the reasons why I won't have a fitted kitchen, because I like to move things around. I like to have that sense of renewal. And I'm not going to go paying for it. And I'm not going to expect Mother Earth to pay for it, which is more pertinent, really. Nor do I want to have a home infused with chemicals, which is what a fitted kitchen's all about, I think. There's Jack down there looking at the stream, just having a little drink, a little wander along the banks. He loves this little morning explore, you know. There's hardly a breath in the air. Well, the air's clear and it's very breathable. I suppose what I meant was there's no movement. The air doesn't seem to be moving at all today. And that all factors into the perfect Lughnasadh day. So as it's Monday morning, I'm going to walk back up to the cottage and get the post ready for today. Make my way over to the post office and come back and spend a few joyful hours making some bog oak pendants. Now, I am going to post some photographs up on the website. I'm going to post a few photographs up on the website and let you see some of the pendants that I've made so far. Blessings to you all on this beautiful, beautiful day. It is truly, dare I say, magical? Yeah, magical. Blessings to you all. You'll find a link to the Bealtaine Cottage bookshop underneath this video and every other video. And I also want to take this opportunity to thank everyone who supports me on Patreon, and also the few who support me via PayPal. There's also some stickers. Very important message, that. Blessings to you all.